Yeah, I would say we have a pretty good workplace culture. I mean, my managers don't really share much with me, they just take care of things themselves. This is what I hear a lot at conferences when I'm talking to CEOs and general managers and senior management. They believe that workplace culture is something that their managers should be taking care of and not something they should be paying attention to. And so, in this episode, I want to bring you clarity and momentum to the areas of your workplace culture that maybe you need to strengthen. Because here on the What If It Works podcast, we are all about creating an environment where people feel valued, trusted, and confident to truly do their best work. And so let's get into 5 questions you should be asking yourself to assess your workplace culture and where you want to take it in 2025. Welcome back to the What If It Works podcast. I am your host, Ann Vogt. I am a culture coach and motivational speaker who is out here supporting leaders to create environments where they themselves can thrive and so can their teams. Now, I want to tell you a personal story because I have had this happen over and over and over at conferences. I meet someone in the line for food or at my table and I say, "Hey, how would you describe your workplace culture?" And I usually either get crickets or, "Oh, it's good. It's good." But they don't really know how to describe it. And so I want so much clarity for you when someone asks you, "How is your workplace culture?" You have a definitive answer because not only have you thought about it, you have been intentionally curating it for the last weeks, months, or whenever. Because when you are clear on what type of workplace culture you have, your team can feel it and live it right alongside your vision of it. And so today I thought maybe I should bring up some questions for you to be thinking about to really get clear on the culture that you have and the culture that you want. So you can go out there, take action, and build momentum so that your employees can truly be working and functioning at their truest potential. First question, of course, goes back to core values. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell you the truth right now. I despise the "what are your core values" conversation. However, what I have found is in my impact presentations, I have every single group I work with write out the attributes that they want to have in their workplace culture. And when I think about attributes and I think about core values, they go hand in hand. And so I truly want to know what your core values are or what type of a workplace culture you want to build. But that's not even the first question. It is, what are your core values and where will I see evidence of them? It is one thing to sit in a strategic meeting and come up with 5 core values and then not do anything with it, not follow up on it, not train your people in it, not make it a priority and set a vision with those core values in mind. And so I am here today to ask you not just what are your core values, but if I were to walk in, where would I see evidence of those core values? And if you're listening to me right now and you're like, "Ann, we don't even have core values," I would strongly encourage you to either make a list as a management team, as a leadership team, of what are our core values, or go back to that question I like to ask when we are investigating our culture, which is, what are the attributes that we want to describe our team with? What do we want to say about our team? Here at X Corporation, we are passionate, we are trustworthy, we are action takers. What are those attributes that you want your staff to have and exude? And then where will I see it or hear it if I walk in? Is it that I will be greeted at the door? Is it that feedback is readily asked for and taken action on? Is it that I'm going to see people holding each other accountable in our workshop sessions? What are your core values and where will I see it? This is a big one because a lot of times core values can be all talk, but we need to be talking about where will we see it so that when we see it, our RAS, our reticular activating system, lights up and says, there it is. There is the trustworthiness. There is the honesty. There is the accountability so that you can continue to build on that. And when we talk about what we will see, when we see something we don't want to see, our RAS will light up as well. And it will say, whoa, this individual coming at me, telling me all about other people's failures is not taking accountability for how they fit into that situation. And so get clear on your core values and get clear on the evidence that you will see. If you are thinking to yourself right now, and I don't even want to hear the other 4 questions, we already have an issue. I would absolutely love to connect with you to talk about bringing an impact presentation your way. All of the impact presentations start with investigating what type of culture you would like to build and then gives you the tools, the communication, and the mindset hacks that it takes to build a culture consistently. And so if that is something you are interested in, you're going to want to go to anvote.com/booking so that we can jump on a call together and talk about how we could bring this to your team as a very proactive way to talk about culture instead of it being a reactive situation later down the line when you are struggling with your workplace culture. So hit me up there, or you can send me an email anytime at impact@anvote.com. All right, that's number 1, core values. Where would I see evidence of it? Question number 2, how openly do employees share feedback to managers and peers? I hear this when I talk to CEOs and I ask, what are some of your biggest challenges? And they'll say things like, oh, I don't know that we have any because nobody's brought anything to my attention. That is a big red flag to me because it tells me that your employees don't even feel confident coming and sharing information about feedback they would like to give you. And so I really want you to be thinking about, where are people giving feedback? How are people giving feedback? I worked with a company this last summer who said, Anne, we give out surveys every single year and they are blank. Nothing I would fix, nothing I would change. Yet our manager teams are getting bombarded with negative comments about the job, about their employees, about people being lazy and people calling in, and lots of emotional comments are coming their way. Yet on the survey, those things are not being said. The moment I heard this, I said, ooh, we've got a trust issue. And what I mean by that is, if I, as your employee, am not confident that you are even going to take my feedback and take action on what I am sharing, I am not even going to waste my time and give you my feedback. And so we need to be making sure we are thinking through, how often are we getting feedback from employees to their managers and peer to peer? And what does that feedback sound like? Are we bringing up feedback to make a change in productivity and efficiency? Or are we getting feedback that is full of negativity and a stuck mindset? When people give feedback, it means they trust that you are going to do something with it. And it means that they are engaged enough to have open conversation. And so I hope some of you are smiling and you're like, Anne, we're getting feedback and we're taking action on it so that we can create a thriving culture. But if you're in the other boat and you're listening to this and you're going, I don't even want to hear the feedback because I don't want to do anything about it, we really got to work on your mindset and your culture. Question number 3, how are successes recognized and celebrated? One of my favorite moments happened in my very first speaking gig. So I went to a company, I spoke to their entire staff, all of the employees on the shop floor, all of the employees in the office. But then in the afternoon, after we had lunch, we did a deep dive with just the manager staff. And so we had about 12 people in the room, and we were talking about celebrating and recognizing hard work, quality work, etc. And the CEO was so excited to share that he was going to create a newsletter and have an employee of the week. And he was going to have one from the shop and one from the office team. And he was going to write a little thing in there about it. And he was going to go to that department and say, one of your employees is the employee of the week. And what I witnessed was some of the managers started to slouch in their chairs, cross their arms, and disengage with this conversation. And as I noticed that, I said to the CEO, how do you think employees will respond for being pointed out about their successes? And he's like, oh, I think they'll love it. And I was like, does anybody else have any feedback on this? And everybody was quiet. And I said, I can tell by the body language in this room that some of you don't agree this would be a positive thing for the CEO to do. Can you tell me why? And they were like, they're going to hate it. They're going to hate it. They're not going to want to be the employee of the week. They're going to beg not to be the employee of the week. Some of these individuals do not like being recognized publicly. And so I bring you this question of how are your employees recognized and celebrated for their successes? And I really want you to think about, is it in a way that drives more positive action, or is it hindering more positive action because people do not like being called out publicly? Now, I think there are some careers where people love being recognized and they love being celebrated in front of others. And I think there are some other careers that they're like, I will quit right now if you make me stand up in front of 100 employees and have them cheer for me because of how hard I worked. My usual technique for this is to obviously approach the individual that you want to celebrate one-on-one. Let them know how much you appreciate the hard work they put in, or the quality work they do, or the new idea and how it changed productivity, whatever it is, and then ask permission. Are you okay if I share this at the manager meeting? Are you okay if I share this at the toolbox meeting? Is it okay with you if I put this in the company newsletter? And then you need to be okay with their response. If they say absolutely not, you need to be okay that they do not want to be celebrated or recognized in front of everyone. But some people thrive with recognition. And so really think through, are you celebrating team success, company success, individual success? And are you recognizing the employees that are doing the work that got you there? I have one more quick story that happened kind of recently. I have a manager that I work with, and he had gone to a big company meeting. It's a nationwide company, and all of the managers from all over the nation came together for one meeting. At one point, his shop was celebrated for the work that they had just gotten done. And he came back to me on a meeting call and he says, finally, somebody recognized how hard we have been working. And I said, this is awesome. Did you go tell your shop? Like, did you go tell them how great of a job they're doing and that you were recognized like nationally with everyone in attendance? And he was like, no, my guys don't need that. And I chuckled and said, would you have told me you needed that? And he's like, no. And I said, but it felt pretty darn good, didn't it? And he was like, yeah. I said, so it might feel pretty darn good to your team as well. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll have to find a way to do that, because he was not comfortable celebrating a success of people just doing their jobs. And I hear you. We want people doing their jobs, and we want them coming to work, and we want them feeling valued. And when they feel valued, they'll feel trusted. And when they feel trusted, they feel confident. And when they feel confident, they show up to do their best work. And they are motivated, and they are engaged, and they are excited. And so I get that they were just doing their jobs, and they just did their jobs well to get recognized. But they need to know that and feel that and do that in a way that works for them. How are your successes recognized and celebrated? Now, if we're talking successes, you know that number 4 is all about challenges. How are conflicts addressed and resolved. Question 4, how are conflicts addressed and resolved? Now, as a culture coach, I work with individuals and with companies to not only create a space and be intentional about creating a space where people are clearly communicated with and people are celebrated, but also where we solve problems. I come from a teacher background, and man, we were solving problems all day, every day for kids, for ourselves, for the copier, for the fax machine when it broke down, right? We were constantly solving problems. But when those problems became emotional, and when those problems became bigger than we thought we could handle, we would not solve them. We would simply talk about them. And my guess is there are people within your organization that would rather talk about problems than solve those problems. But what is that doing to your workplace culture? So, is there a space for them to bring up challenges and conflicts? Is there a safe space for them to do that? I know I had a principal once who at the end of the meeting was like, anything else? Anything else anybody wants to bring up? Anything else? No? We good? Nobody's going to bring anything up. We got 4 minutes to get to class. And we would always wait till the end of the meeting. And it did not sound like our feedback was even going to be taken and listened to. And so if I were being asked at that time period, hey, how are conflicts resolved and addressed? I'd be like, they're not, they're ignored. And that is an unhealthy workplace culture. You are going to have conflict. You are going to have challenges. That is just human behavior in general. And so, how are you handling them? In many of my impact presentations, the P in impact stands for problem solving. And so I teach what I call the 2-minute problem solver. It is a way for two individuals to have a conversation in 2 minutes, come up with a solution, and agree on the action to take going forward. If you hear that and you're like, we need problem solving skills, we need confidence in our problem solving, we need creativity in our problem solving, that is something I would love to talk with you about. Go ahead and send an email on over to impact@anvote.com, and we can talk about how there is a way for me to present on problem solving to build a culture where people move forward instead of staying stuck in those challenges. Question number 5. How does the company support professional development and career growth opportunities? I just started working with a company recently, and I love what they're up to. So in your interview to get a job, they not only ask you about your skills and, why you want this position, but they also ask if there were an opportunity for you to be promoted, would you be interested in that? If there were an opportunity for you to lead other people, is that something that interests you? Then from these questions, after they are hired, if they get the job, they then are put into a pool of people who are given training on leadership and management so that when there is a position open, that individual can apply and say, I have gone through these modules to sharpen my leadership skills, to learn more about management styles. So they are already earmarked, if you will, for potential leadership and promotion because they are willing and interested in those positions. Now, I know that there are people in my life that would say, absolutely not. I just want to come to work and do my job. The end. And that's great. They don't need to be pushed into leadership courses or trainings or growth related events because that's not their goal. And we don't need to push people into something they are not interested in. And so I want you thinking about your own workplace. How are they supporting your personal development, your professional development, and your career growth? My first year of teaching was in 2005, and I had the opportunity to join a U.S. history cohort in which for the next 3 years, I was going to get professional development 5 times a year and a summer trip that was 1 week long every single year for 3 years. I signed up for that without paying a dime out of pocket. My school paid for it. And I can't even tell you how much knowledge I got about American history, but also the hundreds of lesson plans that I was able to hear about and take through my cohort members. It was like taking a fast track of going back to school, but in a matter of while doing my job. It was amazing. I was so sad that about 10 years later, we got rid of all of our professional development opportunities and we started just training from within. And there is so much value when you learn what other people are doing and how other people are solving problems and how other people are celebrating worker success. And so, how is your company handling professional development opportunities and career growth opportunities? And if you are saying to yourself, man, we just don't have anything right now, that is a choice to stay there or to go seek out and learn what do your management team, what does your management team want more of? What can you go find for them? Go to anvote.com. You can check out my speaking opportunities. I have 3 different keynote speeches that I deliver to not only inspire and excite your employees and energize them, but also to get them thinking through the actions they can take to truly create an environment where they can thrive. So it's not just going to fall on you as the management team. Your employees are now going to be accountable and empowered to go take actions and to create that culture that they truly want to thrive in. I hope this brought a little bit of clarity to you so that you could really think through, where are our holes? What do we need to be doing to create more momentum in that area so that if I run into one of your employees and I say, hey, tell me about your workplace culture, they are excited and they have those attributes at the front of their mind. Our workplace culture is motivated. People are engaged. They are held accountable to themselves and to their team members. They are creative. They provide feedback. It is a place where they can thrive. That is what I want to hear, because what if it works? What if you take a look at this and you pick out those holes and you start to take actions to fill them in, and it works? And you start to see smiles on your employees' faces. You start to see energy in meetings. You start to see engagement and collaboration with your team because you have done the work to create an environment where they can thrive. That is what we are all about over here on the What If It Works podcast. If you are feeling excited and inspired, I would absolutely love for you to go share your experience with this podcast so that other people can also get touched and empowered by the same information. If you could leave me a review and or a comment on this episode, it truly helps other people learn about this podcast without even listening. They are going to look for the reviews. They are going to look for what people like you say as a listener of this podcast. And I could not be more grateful that you are here and that you are spreading the word, because what if it works? What if we create a community of leaders that are intentionally taking actions to create thriving workplace cultures? What does this mean for you? What does this mean for the future of our workforce? It is going to be incredible, and it is going to happen because I'm not giving up anytime soon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for going out there and creating change. We could not do this without you.